Going on live on Facebook. All right, so let's get started. Happy Friday, PSWs and friends. Welcome to PSW Podcast, where we go live every Friday at 11 a.m. live here on Facebook for all our PSWs to join us and ask questions and talk about important subjects that relate to the personal support workers here in Ontario. My name is Miranda Romanowicz. I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association, and I'm joined by my colleague, right side of my brain, Mr. Ian DaSilva, who is the COO of the Ontario PSW Association. And today we decided that we wanted to talk about ratios in long-term care homes and why they matter. So let's just get right into it, Ian. Why do we need ratios in long-term care homes?
Well, I think it's one of the rare situations where we want to at least somewhat match the United States' actions of actually having long-term care in retirement home ratios is something that we don't have in Canada. I know we have it in, I think, Nova Scotia.
New Brunswick.
Brunswick, sorry, yes, I know they have ratios. The question as to why we don't adopt that here as a basic enforcement, I don't know. I honestly don't.
What blows my mind is it's you see different governments trying to do different things in order to improve the care levels in long-term care homes. But they always seem to jump around the ratios. So, like the new one that we have, that is in theory a fantastic, plan of action is the 4 hours of care, direct care, for each resident in long-term care per day. Um, Now, in theory, that works wonderfully. But if you don't have a ratio in place already, how are employers supposed to ensure that there's enough PSWs and nurses in order to provide that level of care? Like, that's always been my question.
And how do you ensure that that level of care is uniform? And is that actual 4 hours of care, and who's providing that care? And I
Uh,
think there's ambiguities within the act that says that if it's 4 hours of care, does that, like, is do some long-term care homes interpret that where that could be volunteers that are providing that care? So there's some things that are a little askew with this.
Well, what's crazy to me, Ian, is that this whole, ratios in long-term care, this is not a new conversation. This is not a new topic. This is something we have talked about for many years at the association. And it's something that people still think there is, like the public still thinks that there is a ratio in long-term care homes.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
We
Because the long-term care homes are saying that there is.
Yeah, that's very incorrect. That's an extreme fallacy. The idea that there's even an attempt at ratios in Ontario across the spectrum. I mean, there are excellent players that actually have that perform ratios and have. Well, let's stop for a second. What is a good ratio, Miranda, in Ontario before so we can set this frame here, like per resident
So
to.
initially back in the day when we were really advocating, when this broke on CTVW5 back in, like, I think 2012, 2013, I had said initially that a good ratio was 1 PSW to 8 residents. I redact that statement now, and now I state, because of the enormous amounts of cognitive decline, impairment, physical issues. Like, long-term care homes are like a little hospital at this point.
Yeah,
So I would say a new good ratio would be 1 PSW to 6 residents.
I think
And it's
so.
all dependent upon, like I've said before, it's all dependent upon, their level of care that they require. I mean, for a PSW, at one end of the hall, you could have Mrs. Smith, who just needs some reminding, some light assistance with toileting, maybe doing some oral care,
Yeah.
helping her get her cardigan on, and it takes all of 10 minutes. But then you have Mr. Smith at the other end of the hall, who is a full Hoyer lift, requires full care from 2 PSWs, and takes 45 minutes to perform that care. So where do we find that middle?
I
Like,
don't. Well,
yeah,
and I think the problem also is how we look at how we compartmentalize. It's Friday, everyone apologize. Compartmentalize these care levels. We have retirement homes, we have and long-term care that were developed in the 1950s and 60s when, and the term that they use at the health level is acuity, patient and care acuity levels. So the higher the acuity, the more care they need. The lower the acuity, the less care they need. Generally speaking, that's how they do it. So our system set up for generally, like retirement homes are set up for low acuity, but they're doing high acuity work in a lot of situations. Long-term care was set up for generally high acuity with some low acuity, but now it's almost all high acuity, and the same staffing models and theories and principles are being placed. The 4 hours of care is an achievement, uh, but it's almost like it's masking what else needs to be done. It's not a it's a good start, I think is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, like it's interesting, right? I think because and we've had this conversation with some of our colleagues, and you guys will in the coming weeks start seeing things rolling out from us about this. But one of the other topics of conversations that we've had surrounding long-term care homes or just PSWs in general when it comes to, residents, clients, patients that we care for is that PSWs are not being included as a vital member of the healthcare team.
Some
And what
point.
I mean by that is like, they're talking about this 4 hours of care and long-term care, but yet the PSW doesn't have a say in the resident's care. Our job as a PSW is to go and report to the charge nurse. The charge nurse is supposed to take it from there. But when they're doing like care plan meetings, and so on and so forth, where they're looking at the care plan and what changes need to be made and so on and so forth. They never, and I don't want to say this for everybody because maybe there are some homes that do this, but on the norm, they don't include the personal support worker, which in my mind is ludicrous because they're the ones that know the resident the best.
Absolutely.
And so that's another angle when you're looking at 4 hours of care is we've heard from a lot of our members that the homes and the nurses are putting that 4 hours of care on the PSW directly. So they're saying, no, no, you have to give 4 hours of care per resident per day in your long-term care home. It is impossible for a PSW to give 4 hours per resident per day. Like that's just
It's
mind-blowing.
it's impossible. And that mentality of dividing that work, whereas it only just further seems to be separating the nursing staff from the patient care permanently. So now that for those homes that adopt that, will put all the care on PSWs, this is what you're going to end up with: an isolated patient with very little contact with the nursing or diagnostics staff team. So when those meetings come to place, like exactly what you're saying, the information is only going to be interpreted based on whatever that nurse or the DOC sees on the reports. The PSW is not involved, which means that the patient is not involved.
Yeah.
So where is this? It's funny that we adopt this. The phrase that keeps coming into my head this morning is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I think this is a case where this could be the beginning of that situation where we have, maybe I'm overstating it, Miranda. What do you think?
Not overstating it at all. I mean, as a PSW myself who worked in long-term care for over a decade, I mean, I've seen it all. I've talked about a lot of it publicly, the realities of it. And I think there's also kind of this mindset for the public that if it refers to our elderly, we're going to get mad in the moment and then we're going to forget about it
Yeah.
and move on with our lives because it doesn't really it doesn't have to do with me right now. Which is a sad mindset. Can't blame them though, because that's the way it's always been. But yeah, I mean, long-term care, even when I was working in long-term care, now I graduated in 2006 as a PSW, and I went right into long-term care. And it was a nightmare back then.
Yeah.
And the crazy part to me, I mean, if we're just moving and talking about long-term care, the crazy part to me is, I never worked a fully staffed shift ever in my career as a PSW. We were always working short, always working short. And the crazy part was they had tons of PSWs on the call-in list. But the employer would give it's all that seniority BS, well,
Oh my
they
gosh.
have, 30 years here, so we have to give them a chance to call back. They can take the shift first. It's I mean, I'm all about giving the rights to the PSWs, but at the same token, we're talking about the most personal and vulnerable care that we provide to the most vulnerable in Ontario. And so it should be about filling those spots as opposed to bowing down to the PSWs that have 30 years, 35 years, and giving them 4 hours to call back in order to take the shift. Like, it's just ludicrous to me how this system that's been in place for such a long time is still so archaic.
Well, I think it's because what we have is a very archaic. Well, essentially, the way we interpret that is because of how the collective bargaining agreement. So this is a real big question about the role that collective bargaining agreements play in patient care, or at least in, again, road to hell is paved with good intentions. Seniority makes a lot of sense in an industrial setting. It makes a lot of sense in even in commercial settings in some cases. In healthcare, when you're doing patient care, when you need someone there at the bedside, seniority ideally should theoretically play a role because that person has had the most commitment. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't trump patient care. And I think we're seeing a lot of cases where you have long-term care staff because of that collective bargaining agreement and because of the tenacity in which those agreements are enforced, that they trump primary care delivery right across the board. I mean, we had that issue a few months ago with those PSWs that are making 150,000 a year, 140,000 a year. Again, that's wonderful. Those PSWs deserve to make money. But at what cost is that to the patients themselves? And that those PSWs working for that much are going to suffer in time physical injury, mental health wear down faster, which is why we go back to ratios.
Exactly. So, like, we actually had a question about why do you think there's been such a struggle to have better ratios in long-term care? Who is to blame, the home or the government? Okay, so this was an actually brilliant question, and I think whoever asked
Okay,
this
question.
question, because it's actually not the government. It's actually the homes themselves. So one thing that I learned, and Ian and I learned throughout this whole craziness of what we do at OPSWA, is it is actually up to the home as to what they think a PSW can handle when it comes to ratios, or the nurse. So if they think that a PSW can take on 15 residents, 25 residents, 35 residents on their own, then the home goes, they're good to go. That's that's the ratio that they have. But this is why the government needs to step in more so than just stating the 4 hours of care.
Yeah,
Like, it's I don't know, and to be honest, I don't know why there's such hesitancy. Actually, I do. And we're gonna get nasty here a little bit because I do know the reason why. It is because they want to keep the long-term care homes want to keep their numbers low so that they can apply for more funding.
that's the reason.
That's
Yes.
literally it, and I might get blown up by my PR for this, but it's literally the truth of it. We saw it when we were doing the I'm a PSW campaign across Ontario, and we were doing it with the Ministry of Long-Term Care and the long-term care homes. Like, we hosted tons of job fairs across the province, and these long-term care homes could come for free to set up a table in order to hire. From the way they were crying out for help in these long-term care homes, bawling, "We need more staff, we need
Yeah.
more staff." Not a whole lot of them came out to these job fairs.
And a remarkable number of them said that we are fully staffed, and yet in the same breath said we need more money for staffing.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean, you can see a complete level of, I'm going to say, corruption. This is
yeah.
an abuse of system powers, and long-term care homes are across the board. And it integrates us to see a lot of long-term care homes working very closely with collective bargaining agreements. And some of these collective bargaining agents recommend that their staff not join professional associations. So healthcare professionals have been recommended by these union stewards to not join, for example, WeRPN, don't join RNAO. It's not needed.
Don't
What
join
kind of
OPSLA.
role? What
It's
kind of
not needed.
joint run opposite? What kind of role is that playing for a member and for the patient when the system is prioritizing players that aren't really a part of it? Like it's really
Yeah.
strange.
It's a very strange thing, and I mean, and there's some long-term care homes out there that I just have to say are phenomenal.
A
Like, these
majority are.
homes, the majority are, that they really put patient-centered care first. I mean, as the association that represents the PSWs in Ontario, we are extremely patient-centered care first because we believe that the PSW and the patient are, in a lot of ways, one and the same. I mean, we need you guys to be great so you can care for them and so on and so forth. But these long-term care homes, I mean, they have call-in lists that are hundreds of PSWs deep, and yet they still work short staffed. And that's why, looping back, ratios would stop that.
Bingo.
Government
Absolutely.
ratios would stop that because they would have to have a certain amount of staff on the floor at any given time because the government would say this is what needs to happen. And so does the government need to step in? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And the system can be fixed. We have enormously potential. There's enormous potential here, and we're in the right direction. But it does take a lot of leadership to do that, and we hope that will come one day. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
our
I
hope.
will say this government with the 4 hours of care, brilliant idea.
Brilliant, yeah.
Honestly, absolutely brilliant. But again, it's like that jumping over the ratio
But this is a
conversation.
national problem. This isn't just provincial.
Oh,
Like
hell
this,
no. This is
so
huge.
this is not on one party. Again, these are systems that have been developed over time that have been patched together. They've grown organically through years of confusion. So we're kind of I get it, but we do need to work better towards improving ratios because this is the core, and it is a statistic we need to embrace. Very good.
Absolutely. And I mean, we can get into ratio conversations when it comes to retirement homes, even though they're privately owned. So there's not a lot of, influence that we have there. But I mean, or home care, having, a home care situation where PSW has an X amount of friggin' clients that they have to see in a day that is undeniably stupid. We've seen like PSWs being, booked for 24 clients in a day.
Yeah. I think
Please
we've
tell me. I think they're gonna teleport, Ian. That's how I
oh
think that happens.
that's one of the worst ones. The worst one we ever heard was that PSW. This was oh god, eons ago, 5 years ago. 86 residents, and she was by herself.
A retirement
86
home. Yeah.
retirement home. She had 86 residents, and that was her, and she was alone. And her retirement home said, "We don't have anyone else." So I was
Yeah.
like, so we have basically an abandonment of care issue in that case situation. So interesting. There's a lot of
That-
issues. Go ahead, sorry.
Another question really quick, this a statement, and I want to answer this story for you. It says my workplace is working short every day and talking about its baseline to work with 3 PSWs on a unit with 32 residents. It's baseline for your employer.
Yeah.
It's not baseline for the Fixing the Long-Term Care Act. It's not baseline for the government.
No.
It is baseline for your employer. And I think that's another thing that we're hearing from our PSWs is that many employers in long-term care are using the excuse of the Fixing the Long-Term Care Act.
Yes, we've seen this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We didn't know. We'd be surprised how it became abused, but go in to explain how it was abused because I think you have it better.
It was abused because we got PSWs that have been working on the ground there for 25, 30 years, and they're being, accused of nefarious things, shall I say?
Answer.
And they're saying, well, it's because we're following the Fixing the Long-Term Care Act, or they get fired, or we're following the Fixing the Long-Term Care Act, or they're being told that they don't have a voice because they're following the Fixing the Long-Term Care Act. Yeah.
It's that disconnect between regulatory enforcement and interpretation. So you have it being interpreted by long-term care homes one way, but there's no enforcement of the rules, so they're pretty safe to go. Just to correct something you said earlier, I think there was a time that you told me that there was a fully staffed shift that you at least heard about when you were at your employment, and it was the day of inspection. Am I correct?
Yes, it
Okay.
was absolutely. You're right. Thank you, Ian. We find that long-term care homes are fully staffed on days of inspection.
Remarkable coincidental.
Remarkable, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
and all the
we
books are done, all the MARs have been completed. Everything is like top board
yep.
when the ministry comes through. But then also sad part too is we've seen like when I worked with CBC Marketplace that they went undercover into a long-term care home. Remember, and they caught 2 PSWs talking to a ministry investigator about the reality of working frontline in long-term care.
Yeah,
And this investigator goes, I'd love to be able to help you, but I can't.
there's nothing they can do.
So I mean, we're not trying to say don't say anything. What we're trying to say is you guys have more rights than you think you do. Do not allow your employer to bully you. Do not allow your colleagues to bully you. Do not allow management, unfortunately, charge nurses, etc., to bully you. You have your rights as a personal support worker. regardless if you're unionized or not, and regardless if you're a member of the association or not. Too many times I have PSWs approach the association that have really bad stuff happening in their long-term care home. And unfortunately, as an association, we require proof. So we need either a letter, something that we can take to the Ministry of Long-Term Care or the Ministry of Health so that, we can't do hearsay.
No.
And many times when they come to us, more times than not, when they come to us, we tell them we need a letter. They turn around and go, I'm scared. I don't want to write a letter. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared. Okay. You've totally and completely tied our hands. As soon as you say, I'm scared, I don't want to do this, there is nothing the association can do for you.
Nothing. Nothing.
Buckus, nothing. Yeah.
We get this a lot. We do get
Yeah.
this a lot. People calling us and very, very sincerely distraught, the PSWs. And I said, listen, I can help you, but I do need you to submit a document to us, which will be held anonymously and confidentially, so that we can start looking into this for you. The answer is always absolutely. I will send it to you, and it never comes. So, and then you get another call asking to follow up. So we understand that people that when you're in these situations, it can be extremely emotional and stressful. It does not preclude you, if you're really taking this seriously, take the time. It's 20 minutes. Use a voice recorder. You can do it on your phone to explain what happened and send it in writing. It needs to come in writing, all right? Because until that, we can't do anything about it. And nor are we therapists. We can't help you. We're not here to listen to you just complain and complain and complain. We want to help you. We want to do something about it. It's not just, it's not a therapy session. So you're calling us to help, then we want to help you, and you can't, because there's a lot of bad players out there still. And yeah, and if you need help, please do.
It's, and I'm glad we talked about this because that has been a frustration for us
Yeah.
as of late. Is we've gotten a lot of complaints about one particular home, but none of the PSWs are willing to put it in writing.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, again, these complaints are confidential. We need to be aware of that. This is an issue of patient care. PSWs are the primary. PSWs are the only people in long-term care that actually pay attention to the patients all the time, because they're the ones physically with the patients. Nurses are overwhelmed with nursing duties. The DOC is overwhelmed with administrative duties. Everyone is busy, so PSWs are incredibly important. Your role is so important that if we don't know and the public doesn't have any sort of material, we can't help the patients. We can't help you. There's nothing we can do. So, yeah.
If you do reach out to us, we do have a duty of care as your professional association to report these matters to the ministry. And remember, we don't go at the bottom, we go right to the top.
Yeah, we go
So
right,
we go right to the top, but we need you to put it in bloody writing and send it to us. And I know you're scared, and I understand the bullying aspects. And hell, I worked in long term care for many years, and I've heard it as well. It cannot be an easy situation.
no.
But at the end of the day, remember why you become a PSW, and that is to care for those individuals that you care for every single day and to provide them with good care. And if you're seeing things that are not good in a nefarious or assault or whatever, you need to report this. You, as a PSW, have a duty of care to report this, and not just to your director, your DOC, or your charge nurse. If you're seeing abuse, you got to go all the way. Like and you can get in trouble if you don't do it.
It's true.
If
There is an
it gets
element of
found
complicity.
out, yeah.
Yeah, there, you want to be careful about that. And the other thing is, we really are going to be stressing that we do need to join your professional association in the next little while, especially if you're interested in actually taking some ownership of your career and what you want to do. The situation for PSWs in Ontario is changing. We are moving to a quasi-regulatory structure. We spoke about this at the last podcast meeting. We seem to get a lot of not complaints, but a lot of call outs from personal support workers that are absolutely in a crisis situation, the people we're talking about, but they're not members. So we can't do a lot if you're not a member. So please understand that. And we know that there are collective bargaining agents out there saying that you do not want to join OPSWA or you don't want to join your professional association. Why don't they?
Well, you want to know why they don't? I'm going to say why, and I'm going to
Go
say it
ahead.
out loud. Because we are strictly for you.
Exactly.
We don't represent, the steel workers or, like electricians as well as PSWs. This entire association was created to support the personal support worker. So that is why they don't want that, is because we will really on you to help you get through whatever the hell you're going through.
And
So
helping you follow complaints. And this is the thing, we help memberships, and we can't stress this enough. You file a complaint to your union, the union should do something, but who follows up with the union? If your union won't back you, what do you do? It's at that point that we start getting not complaints, but queries for help. I need to help with my union. I'm like, well, when did you join us? Oh, I didn't. My union told
I
me.
never joined.
I know my union told me not to because you don't need it, and it's illegal to join a union and also at the same time. And you're like,
It's not true. You can be
thousands.
a member of your union and the association at the exact time. We work very well with a lot of unions in the province of Ontario. We do
Yeah,
not have issues with them. Some of them have issues with us, and that's okay. That's all
the
right.
bad actors would have issues because
The bad actors have
they are
issues.
protecting processes and practices that they know are wrong and that they know are putting patients at risk. And then they use fear and intimidation to tell these people do not join any sort of professional association because we don't
Exactly.
want to look at us.
Exactly. So make sure you guys join. I mean, it's as low as 19.99 a month, and you get liability insurance and coverage, and you get that advocacy and that support that you don't really get anywhere else. So make sure you guys jump on board. It doesn't break the bank. Now we do have a question here, and this one kind of breaks my heart, but it's also a really quick topic that we're going to jump on very quickly, and off it probably pretty quickly. So Manisha wrote, "I'm a graduate of PSW, but it's so difficult to get job. Don't know why no one is giving jobs to new graduates. I'm tired of applying and hopeless." I'm seeing this everywhere.
I don't know.
I don't know why they're not hiring. It also could be a case, and I really want to stress this to people watching. I know that when you graduate as a PSW, you want to go out there and immediately have full-time hours and immediately have that role or that line in long-term care or work in the hospital. You got to build up your experience before you can get to those positions. That's how it is now. So what I would advise you, Manisha, to do, if you haven't already, is look at home care, look at retirement homes. And heck, if that's not working, if you have people in your own community that are searching for a PSW, then you can always join the association and become an entrepreneurial PSW. What this does is allow you to work for yourself directly with clients in their homes. So don't give up hope. We do need PSWs. It's just a case of we don't know. We don't know why this is happening because they're still claiming we need so many PSWs. Do you guys see that disconnect now with government, us, and employers? There's some massive disconnect happening, and it's just one big trifecta of not fun.
And our patients are lost in the middle of the storm. That seems like it.
And so half of our PSW population are blowing in the wind, going, "What the hell's going on?" So just know that we are on top of it. We're trying our best. Um, I mean, there's only so much that anybody can do in this case, but know that there are options. Like I said, home care, retirement home, working for yourself as a PSW. We've seen great success with our members on working for themselves. A lot of families want to hire directly now as opposed to going through an agency. I'm not against agency whatsoever. We have great agency friends and members of the association, but you know, uh, keep an open eye. But do not expect full time, good hours out of the freaking gate. You're not going to get it.
No, it's not. It's very.
I, as a PSW myself, I've been a PSW 20 years next year. I have never had a full time gig as a PSW, not a once.
They're extremely hard. We're not to lose hope, but you want to just set your expectations accordingly. So if you're being told you're going to waltz out of your program, even a community college program, and into a full-time career, you're the lucky one. But for most of us, it's going to be working part-time, getting our experience, getting a feel for it, and then you
You
get
gotta you gotta build your specialty.
yeah,
So I mean, I always recommend to PSWs as well that become specialized in an area, where that be dementia,
yeah.
mental health, autism,
Um,
foot care, something along those lines. And we offer all of those opportunities to you guys through the association. So make sure to jump on that because when you become specialized, then you become one of a kind.
exactly.
Yep. You become one of a kind. Okay. I think that's it for today, ladies and gents.
Okay. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say for this weekend, everyone have a really good weekend. And if everyone has if there's anyone out there in public, we have our messaging service on this weekend. So
Yes, our chat will be available this weekend. I believe it starts at 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. That you guys can chat with us over our website if you require any assistance or you've questions or concerns or so on and so forth. But we will not be in our offices until next Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh my God, next Wednesday, we'll be back in the office. It seems like such a long time.
Well, we're running partial hours on the Monday, but then we're back on Wednesday full time, and we're back to the grind. So, but then,
Exactly.
for memberships and queries, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via the chat function on our webpage.
Absolutely. We're always available. I mean, you guys work 24/7, so why shouldn't we? Really? We represent you. I mean, we do take time to sleep, but I digress. So anyways, with that, stay tuned for next week. Next week, I believe we're talking about tips and tricks on how to manage a difficult workplace. And it's going to be all hosted by personal support workers next Friday. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a very safe and wonderful Canada Day weekend. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much for watching. And with that, we're going to say, Opswa out.